Hello everyone, my name is Alessandro and this is the Temple of Surf, the podcast. We'll give you full access to the best surfers, skaters, shapers, surfboard collectors, shop owners in the world. Discover with me their stories, the greatest successes, amazing behind the scenes, and much more. This episode is brought to you by Yogi Pipe, a line of apparel created with eco-friendly materials by artisans from all over the world. Let's discover more about them and their collection on www.yogipipe.surf. Hello everyone, welcome to the 6th episode of the Temple of Surf podcast. Today with us is another surf legend from Hawaii, Joey Cabell. Joey was one of the most successful competitors in the 60s, being one of the fastest surfers ever. We spoke about surf, life, Hawaii, Miki Dora, and much more. Hello, Mr. Cabell. Welcome to the show. Where are you today?
I'm in Honolulu, Hawaii, and I'm here with my wife, Yana, and Malie, her real close friend, and we're kind of sharing this experience together.
Yes, it's definitely a great experience for me as well. Thanks a lot for being on the show. Today we're going to talk about many things, surf, and your amazing, legendary story and history. In your opinion, what is the most important thing in surfing?
For me, the most important thing in surfing is dedication and commitment.
Yes.
You want to be that person, you got to go for it.
Definitely, right? It's so important.
The commitment is very important, and when you start to ride bigger surf and huge seas, you got to be ready for that.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'll tell you down the line of some of the things I did to be ready for surfing when it got really big.
Yeah, definitely, right? You cannot be afraid, right? When you really go for it, right? I mean,
you have to earn that position. You have to earn the ability to be respectful, and you got to be a little afraid, of course, but at the same time, you have to be prepared and ready for the situation.
Definitely. It's actually something that also Greg Knoll, that was part of the show in an earlier moment, he said the same thing, right? You need to earn your place in the lineup, but when you go, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
there you go.
I guess it's so important.
Well, the key is to earn respect.
Yeah.
Okay. And growing up in Waikiki in the 40s, after World War II, surfing with the locals in Waikiki, you were a haole boy, right? So you had to learn respect with the local lineup. And that was a great lesson I used throughout my life.
Definitely. I guess also at that time there were, in Hawaii, there were maybe more people surfing than in the rest of the world. But still, I guess it was not as popular as today, right?
That's true. Now surfing is around the world, everywhere.
Yeah.
But in Hawaii was the number one spot, and California and Australians were the first people to start coming to Hawaii to surf our big waves. Yeah.
And also, sometimes when I talk with great legendary surfer like you, they think that there was more space for everybody, right? There was less people surfing. The number of waves was, let's say, the same. So everybody could surf more, right? And today it's overcrowded, right? A little bit.
Yeah, it's a little harder today with so many people in the lineup. There's no doubt about it. Yeah. But still in those early days, in those days, here's the interesting thing about surfing in this very late 40s and early 50s. People, if you dropped in on somebody and held them back, that was allowable. Okay, so you would force the person on the inside of the curl into the whitewater, and you would make it. Okay, well, that is definitely not allowed anymore. No. But that's just how it was done in those days. So you didn't really have the right, being deep, of the wave to yourself, because somebody was going to drop in that was as good or better surfer than you and hold you back and drive you into the whitewater, and so they could make the wave.
Yeah. It was also about personality, right? You needed, in a certain way, to impose yourself, right?
Well, it was just a technique that was being done by everyone.
Okay, let's call it technique. I'm very interested about your early days when you learn about surfing, right? I read about you. You didn't start with surf, right? You start with bodyboard. Did I?
No, I started surfing first.
You started first. Okay, that was my mistake then.
I started surfing first. I started surfing. I really saw surfing for the first time going to my first grade class, driving on a bus through Waikiki, seeing people surfing in Waikiki. I was 6 years old.
Wow.
I knew I wanted to be a surfer. It was a done deal right then at 6 years old. And that's how it all started.
It's amazing. It's amazing, But I guess it's something that all of us, surfer, professional or not, amateur, we know that when we surf, that first wave is something that is going to stay with us forever, right?
That's totally right. It's totally right.
Incredible. And what was your first surfboard? Like the one that is worth to be mentioned, in effect?
Well, the first surfboard was a redwood plank.
Okay.
Solid redwood. It had a very V on the tail, so that it worked like a fin, and it was heavy. I had to almost drag it to the water. I had it behind a hedge, 1 block back from Aloha Avenue, Waikiki. In those days, the houses were old, and you just knocked on the door. Can I leave my surfboard behind your panic hedge?
Okay.
And then I would drag this thing across Aloha Avenue, carry it, drag it into the water. That was the very first board. Very young, right? The board was quite small, though. It wasn't huge, but it was still heavy.
Yeah. In effect, hearing actually, like one day I always tell this story. When I first bought one surfboard from the 60s, actually, I think it was a Gragnol still, and I tried to lift it. I was like, oh my God, this is so heavy. I cannot believe how fit you need to be in order to lift it, and to go in the lineup, and it's also so dangerous if it falls in your head, right? And thinking about today and the shortboard and the lightweight that they are, it's, you guys at that time, you were pretty in shape to lift those.
Well, we had to get in shape. There's no doubt about it.
You still have that surfboard?
No, I don't.
No
reason to keep that board.
Okay. You have like a particular board that still stays with you since long time. That is your like.
Well, I do have a couple of boards that I made. I have a board that I really shaped myself. Okay. But there's an order to all this. I mean, you end up doing your own shaping because the boards that were available were doing the right thing at the time. For example, some of the boards that I were riding were made by famous shapers, and you get in a 20-foot wave, you drop, and I'm talking about Honolulu that had quite a lineup, and you hit the bottom and you drive it into the wall, and you're in the wall, traveling across the wave as the wave's breaking over you, in the wall, and the board would fall away from my feet. And I have my hands and toes into the side of the wall the way the board is now gone and wipe out, right? So there was a reason for that. And all the boards in those early days had a little bit of belly on the bottom of the board because everything was so symmetrically made that the little belly on the bottom of the board then would make it fall out of the wave, okay? So I go, okay, I went home that day and shaped the board with more belly. And it would fall out of waves on 5-6 foot waves. That's it. No more belly on boards, right? So then I went and made my first flat bottom board, and it was a miracle at how well it worked. Okay, and then I brought the rails down a little lower, and it really became a fast board. Another thing I did is I made the wide point only in the middle, not forward. In the early days, the wide point was forward of middle, wide point of the board, right? With a bit of round bottom and the round rails. That was the problem with wide boards. Gave problems in those days. Okay, so I made some boards myself, and that's how I started figuring out what was going on.
Definitely, it is interesting, because I'm talking mainly with shapers, that they don't shape by computer and they still shape by hand. They say like the biggest improvement that we have is the feedback that we have from surfer, and the art of shaping is completed with a good surfer, because we know how to shape, we know how to do the best surfboard, but we need the feedback of the surfer. And in your case, you were able to shape the board that you were using, so you knew what you needed. And I think that's the great thing of your surfboard, right?
Maybe I'm not trying to take credit for anything, because everybody added 2 cents and did an amazing job in creating where the sport of surfing went. But for me at that time, I'm only talking about myself, I found that I needed to do something to improve what I was writing. Okay, those improvements I just mentioned made a huge difference, and it could have been the start of a new era for surfboard shapes. It's gone crazy since then with the 5'6", 5'2", 5-leg boards that people like Kelly Slater ride and other people ride also, where they're sitting in the water and the water level is 2 inches under their armpits. That's how far the board sits underwater when they sit waiting for the lineup. So they're riding a direction of surfing that changed, over the years, right? And Kelly had a lot to do with Kelly Slater and his competitors he rode with. So from 2014 on, that's when the boards really got incredibly small.
Yeah, definitely.
Waterline under your armpits when you're sitting on them in the lineup.
Yeah, definitely. If you have to look at your career, surfing career, what was the defining moment, in your opinion?
I've had an opportunity to surf around the world in different contests and so on. And so I knew I was on track for what I was creating for myself in the surfing world. I was driven to be that surfer, and I just loved to surf, right? Yeah. So after winning Makaha 2 times, 3 times, and then that same next year in 69, I won the Duke finally. And so I think that was the end of my drive in the ocean. I accomplished what I was after, and I had a great history of surfing, and that was the kind of the defining moment for me in my surf career.
In 1963, so you are talking about the Mahaka contest. In 1963 you won both the Mahaka and the Malibu contest, right? What was the best memory of that year?
Well, okay, that was probably one of the highlights of my life that year, from that surfing period, because I was also skiing and ski racing. And between the ski racing, opening the first chart house in 1961, so those years kind of all came together, coming to Aspen, ski racing, and then surfing, coming back to Hawaii because I grew up surfing. And so it was easy for me to add all of these sports together, right? So I'd come back to Hawaii, I'd leave Aspen, right, in the middle of winter, and go to Makaha and win Makaha. I mean, it's crazy. Then go back that summer and win Malibu and a 2-foot surf, right? So it's a combination of 15 plus and maybe 20 in some ways, maybe 15 plus at Makaha, that 63, and then the 2-foot, maybe 3 at the most at Malibu. So, it was a period of my life where everything was going, I was just on it. I was really fortunate on it. Back to Aspen and living the winter lifestyle in the mountains and the surf here in Hawaii, in part of winter and part of summer. So that was a very special time for me.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing. In effect, living in Aspen, I think, is very difficult to train for surfing, right, over there. So,
well, you're training for something else. You're climbing mountains. You're in shape for another sport, right? So when you just change horses, but you keep running.
Of course.
Change horses, but keep running. Okay, so each area had its commitment and in my drive for that area. Okay, but coming back to surfing now. Okay, you're going to ask me some questions about. You want to continue because I could jump the gun and just.
Please jump. We like freedom. We jump from one wave to another, one question to another.
But I didn't read it, but who was your particular friend in surfing that you liked a lot or you surfed with a lot? Well, I think I would have to say Mike Doyle, because Mike Doyle, who was one of the strongest surfers out of California at the time, and you have to keep in mind that the Californians were the ones that came over and really got into our big surf and lifestyle in Hawaii. They were famous for that, a number of them. But Mike Doyle and I became close friends. I brought him to Kauai, and we surfed Hanalei together. And I'll give you an idea how this went down. One summer, he came from summer. He was on the East Coast working for Hansen on boards, came to me on Kauai that summer. And I said, Mike, we're going to swim the Napali Coast. Okay, Napali Coast is a 17-mile swim.
Oh, wow.
And I had another couple that we were with at the time that was working on my property on Kauai. And we were swimming in Niha River, upstream, to get in shape for the swim against the current. So Mike arrives. They go, Mike, you're coming with us, aren't you? And he goes, shoot. So anyway, we go, right? So there was a rule. You could bring your bathing suit and goggles so your eyes don't burn. Put a pocket knife in your pants, in your swim short, and no fins, no nothing, right?
Okay.
So that's the rule, right? So that's how there's four of us. That's how we all started off. Wow. So anyway, to give you an idea how it went, we went 17 miles, spent the night at in not Haiana. We left at Haiana. We spent the night and along the way and slept on the beach and went the next morning, slept on the beach and got all the way to 17 miles swim in 3 days, right? So from those kind of conditions, we're now ready to surf big surf when the big surf comes. In those days, there are no leashes.
Yeah.
Okay. You had to. You were ready for the huge oceans because you had trained all your life to be that person, right? So, So with this kind of conditioning, I went to Hanalei with Mike Doyle, and we had a 20-foot, 25-foot day. Huge, right? And it's a huge wave. And you have to really know how to ride that huge wave, which wave to pick. You can't pick any old wave because they close out. But if you pick the right wave, you can go right on through. And if it's a west swell, there's no bowl on the end. Okay, so it's an amazing wave. Okay, so anyway, we were there together surfing, but that's how you would be in shape. Okay, if you lost your board, it gets in the current, it tries to take it out to sea. So you have to be able to find your board. And hopefully you don't lose it, but this does happen.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was what we did in those days, right? To be in shape.
Definitely. And, while you were talking, a lot of things came up to my mind. Two in particular. Like the first thing is that the level of training today, there is a lot of talk about surf training, and a lot of people go to the gym and do a lot of things to prepare for surf. And I think at that time, the training, it was more into the nature, right? You were like doing a lot of surfing, you were doing a lot of swimming. And so you were naturally prepared for surf, right? Without going to the gym. Definitely.
Well, you don't need the gym if you're swimming 17 miles. I promise you that. In fact, the gym gets in the way.
Yes, exactly. I should tell my wife that I should swim more and eat less. Maybe.
Well, swimming is the gym is good for the way you look, right?
Yeah. Of course.
And it's good for the conditions you're using the gym for, right? But it really doesn't totally help surfing, other than. Yeah. Maybe you're going to get cramps from going to the gym.
All right, maybe. Maybe.
That's not good. But the swimming is the key. Swimming and paddling and surfing. You got to surf to be in shape for surfing.
definitely. And the
A
other
lot of it.
that I was thinking while you were talking is that a lot of great surfboards at that time got snapped because there was no leash, so they were like going and flowing into the rocks, into the beach, or get lost. And so for that reason, like surfboard from that era are quite collectible as well and valuable, because today, is you have the leash and you can get back your board easily. At that time, quite a lot of board got lost.
And you don't know how to swim either.
Exactly. I have a question for you. Like when I read about you and about your story, people are referring to you as a legend. Do you consider yourself one?
Well, I probably didn't think of myself as a legend at the time, but now when I look back, I guess probably I was a legend. you know, and I didn't really work on that concept. I'm a legend. I worked on my commitment to the ocean, to surfing, and the waves, and being ready for big waves, and getting respect in the lineup, and all of those things. That's what I was into at the time, right? But was I a legend? Probably, but I didn't think of myself as one. But maybe now, looking back, I guess I might follow in what people are saying. You probably were a legend.
Yeah, definitely, I think you are, and for that reason, a lot of people pay great respect to you, and you've been inducted in the Walk of Fame in Huntington Beach, and a lot of people look at you like a legend, a living legend of surf. So definitely, I was so excited today to speak with you, also for that reason, So
you're bringing up something that's come to mind to me. I was at the Huntington Beach Legends of Surfing, and Bruce Brown, before he died, came especially just to be with me and to talk about my surfing and our experience together. I was so honored to have Bruce Brown there with me. We go back, way back. We even lived together for a little while in California in the early days. So it was really honorable. And so thinking about that Huntington Beach, and then thinking about that Hall of Fame, I was very, honored to be honored. There's no doubt about it, right? But to have Bruce Brown there made the whole thing so special for me.
Yeah, and like I told you at the beginning of this interview, I saw the latest movie that Dana Brown, his son, did for his father, A Life of Endless Surfing. A Life of Endless Summer.
He actually, I was the first person he invited to go on that tour.
Okay.
And I go, Bruce, I'm so honored, pal. Thank you for inviting me. But, I'm just starting my second chart house in Newport Beach, and I can't go, but I'm very honored. Thank you very much. Second chart house in Newport Beach. It was important to be there.
Yeah, definitely. So thanks a lot anyway for sharing this. I think, I hope when Dana will listen to this episode, he will really appreciate your kind words towards his father. Okay, looking back at your career, is there something that you would have done differently?
Of course. I would have had my wife, Yana, by my side the whole time.
Oh, such a romantic guy. Yes, definitely.
The whole time. That's the only thing I would have done different.
Okay. Look, it's like, it's good, like in Italy, we would say that tonight you don't sleep on the couch because you got a brownie point with your wife, right? After this statement. But I know what you mean, like family at the end is the most important thing, like,
it is.
It characterizes us as man, as woman in our life. So but so romantic. I was not expecting this question, but this answer, sorry. But great, definitely.
We have to be truthful now.
Yeah, of course. We always are. Again, reading about you, they're saying that you will be always remembered for both your power and precision in surfing.
Yes, they're very important, right? And your commitment and your direction of what you're trying to accomplish, especially when the surf got large. Yes, definitely.
Would you pick one or both of them at the same time? Power or precision?
Well, they go together, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
How could you separate the two? Then you should go into style. What style hooks them together in your surfing, right? That's part of what people want to watch when they watch you surf. Your style, right? With those two commitments.
Definitely, I completely agree with you. Actually, the statement, style puts together power and precision. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Definitely. So you had amazing things in your life between surfing, the chart house, and a lot of projects, snowboarding as well, right? And
ski racing. Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
Are you currently working on something else, or you are concentrating time with your
I'm totally committed right now to the chart house in Waikiki has been closed because of the coronavirus. So we're working every day to try to bring it back. There's no business in Waikiki now. Of all the thousands and thousands of rooms, not one of them are lit up with people. It's just shut Waikiki down. So I had to shut the business down. So that's what I'm working on. And with my wife and Malia here to help me do that, this is where I'm at the moment.
Yeah.
There's something else. I can't forget something else.
Please.
I'm working on. I built a sailboat, a catamaran.
Wow. Okay.
I built with Joe Quigg, who is one of the most famous ocean people of the period.
Okay.
He built the first one, and I took the molds off. He took the molds off of the first design, and we built a design that I worked on with him for a little over a year every day. And we built it and launched it in 1975.
Okay.
And I sailed it to Tahiti in 1976. The Hawaiian voyaging canoe called the Hokulea went to Tahiti. It made a big statement in Hawaiian sailing, right? Okay. But at that time, when the boat was still in the shop before we went into the water, I had the name on the back of my boat called Hokulea.
Okay.
Hokulea is a name of Arcturus, which is straight above. When you come from the Tahiti to Hawaii and you look straight above, there's Arcturus. So the name Hokulea was a name that I chose for that reason, because I know I was going to sail there.
Okay.
And the voyaging canoe did the same thing. Herb Connie, who was the famous designer of the Hokulea and all the drawings of early pre-white people coming to Hawaii, the canoes of the period, right? So he drew all these famous designs. Okay. He was walking into my shop. The name Hokulea was at eye level and 2 feet away from me. He said, Joey, we're going to call the Hawaiian voyaging canoe Hokulea. I go, I know why. So we both came up with that idea. And so we launched almost the same exact time, voyaging and my boat. But they went to Tahiti a year early in 66, and I went in 1977.
Wow.
They launched in 1976. I launched the boat in 1975. The voyaging canoe sailed to Tahiti in 1976, and my Hokulea sailed to Tahiti in 1977 in 9.5 days. That was a very special moment for me.
Definitely, I guess.
And then, I've been using the boat. I have remodeled it a bit, put a modern rig, very contemporary rig on it now, and I sail it 2 times a week, every week.
Oh, wow. Amazing. That's fantastic.
It's really fun to go upwind at 12, 14 knots upwind and then come downwind and over 20 knots. So it's fun to sail. It's a fun boat to sail.
Beautiful. And also great story behind the boat. So definitely. One day I hope I will be able to see it myself. When we all be back to travel, who knows?
When you come to Hawaii, we'll go sailing together.
Yeah, that will be amazing. With great time. We're going to finish our interview with a short Q&A session, so question and answer. Please answer the first thing that comes up to your mind. Okay?
Sure.
The best surfboard that you ever ridden?
Well, I think the one that I built for myself when I changed the direction of surf designs of that period, called the White Ghost. I can see it's right on the wall there. I have it in my home.
Fantastic.
And I built 2 boards at the time for big waves.
Your favorite shaper, other than you, of course. You can answer yourself, but we want to know somebody else.
Okay. I think for the longboard, Donald Takayama was my favorite shaper.
Yes.
Of course, because he always gave me boards that I could hang 10 on. Use the longboard properly, right? And then Dick Brewer, of course, for his early days shaping guns. He was very notable for his early shaping designs.
Definitely. I agree on both shapers, in effect. Yeah. They're like legendary as well. Personal question, your favorite song?
Well, my favorite song is Waikiki.
Okay.
And Waikiki at night when the shadows are falling. You know, it's a beautiful song. Andy Cummings wrote that in 1938 in Lansing, Michigan. Can you imagine that? I mean, wow. He's an island boy, grew up in Waikiki Beach, did everything I did years before, 10 years before me. In Waikiki, got the feeling, got the love for it. And the song is unbelievable.
Amazing.
Unbelievable. Okay, so that's my favorite song.
Your favorite surf spot?
It has to be Hanalei, Kauai.
And your favorite surfer?
Well, I'm not going to go back in time because I talked a lot about Mike Doyle, and there was a lot of great surfers in that period. I can't mention them all. The only reason I mentioned Mike Doyle is because of his spending time coming to Kauai, surfing Big Hanalei, swimming up Holy Coast, and then snowboarding with me. We snowboarded together.
Wow.
All over together. And so there's a huge connection with his commitment to the ocean and water sports, and also a friend. Okay, but I'm going to jump to the modern times because I have to say that maybe Kelly Slater has to be the man of the hour, a man of going back. Of course, he started surfing when he was young. He's 48 now, but that just shows you how powerful and how committed he has been and wanting to continue to be that person, right?
Yeah.
It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
So, he went pro in 1990, but in those days, everything was quite different. Boards were longer. As he continued in that direction, the boards got smaller and smaller. Now, the boards that he makes in his own shop under his own name are like 5 feet, 5 inches, 18 and 3/8 wide, and maybe 2 inches thick. But here's what's interesting. They're so small that when you're sitting in the line of waiting for the waves, the water line is 2 inches under your armpit.
Definitely.
And everybody's riding these kind of boards today. But what does that mean? Okay, I'll say that it makes the turn off the top, the bottom turn, and the cutbacks more radical than ever on such a short board. But as I noticed when they're surfing Macaw contests, or not Macaw, but at sunset contests, they're not riding down the line like I'd ride on my guns that were so fast, or I'd be way up the line. They're riding kind of after the wave is almost finished, and they're making maybe 3 or 4 bottom turns and 3 or 4 top turns and work it to death. The end of the wave, if you get a tube, you're in a tube. But this is how surfing is done today. But it's because of these boards. And it's amazing. It's fun to watch. No one's hanging 10 on them anymore. The style is so different. It's radical and it's beautiful in that style. But the other style is more graceful and it's still powerful too.
Yeah.
From the early days.
If somebody in 1963 would have shown up on a contest riding a 5 feet surfboard, would have been like considered crazy.
They would not know how to use it.
Yeah,
they wouldn't win. They wouldn't win anything. With that board, because you have to earn that. That took 20 years to learn to earn.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the rules, I
right.
guess, of pointing system was completely different back then than today, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you know, if somebody could ride that board in a contest of that period, the way Kelly rides it now, and his team, and his group of people ride it now as a competitive team, you know, it'd be night and day, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, compared to what was going on then, it wasn't there yet. Surfing had not arrived at the point it is today. And so everybody has to take a little credit for bringing it along. You know, you add 2 cents, and the next guy adds 2 cents, and pretty soon you know you're in a current period.
But you know, it would be fun today to see Kelly Slater, John Florence, all like today, big surfer, Medina, whatever, to ride, to do a contest only with a classic surfboard, like back in the day, you know, and see how it goes. It could be something like challenging, right?
Well, you know, I mean, you know, let's talk about John for a minute. He's obviously our most amazing Hawaiian surfer, without a doubt. Okay, and he usually dominates Kelly at times, and Kelly is still there, but John's a lot younger, right?
Yeah.
But he's got to be one of our great water people of today. And this catamaran surfing and designing, or, you know, he bought catamarans and he made trips across oceans on, the small foiling catamarans that he has been sailing. You know, these are all current water people that are taking the next level to the max.
Yeah.
In every way.
Yeah.
And John's got to be ahead of the more rounded package of a waterman than even a Kelly Slater. Rounded in that all the water sports that he does well.
It's a great compliment, of course, that you do towards John. Of course, said by you, he will definitely appreciate. The last question of our interview, we ask everybody, has nothing to do with surf, but I'm sure you have a great advice, because we want to know your best relationship advice.
I have Yana with me right here, so I'm going to tell it. I'm going to tell it as true as it can be. Right?
What's this?
Be faithful. Be faithful, honest, and committed.
Yes. Definitely. Yes. I think is.
I never see another woman. They don't exist. Only Yana.
I guess what you're saying is so important, and I agree with you. You know, when you know that a woman or a man is a man or a woman of your life, you don't need to look anywhere else. You know, it just feel completely inside and happy. Right?
What a waste of time that would be.
Not everybody agrees, so we know that a lot of people don't agree with what I'm saying, but I agree with you completely, 100%. Fantastic. Mr. Cabell, thank you so much for being on the show with me today. I feel really grateful that you dedicate to me part of your time, and I look forward to talk to you very soon. And thank you, Yana, for the help and support.
Wait, we have a gift for you.
Can you see her? There she is, right in the middle.
We have a virtual gift for you from our friend Lexi.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. You've been kind.
Aloha from Hawaii.
Let's get a photo. Can we get a photo with you?
Yes, of course.
Ready?
Yeah.
Get a photo with your lay on. 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
Thank you so much. You have been exceptionally kind, and I'm very grateful. I wish.
We have one other gift for you.
Oh my God!
Just for again.
That's a show, unexpected.
There's a feeling deep in my heart, stabbing at me just like a dart. It's a feeling heavenly. Waikiki, at night when the shadows are falling, Hear your rolling surf calling, calling and calling to me. Waikiki, my whole life is empty without you. I'm a sad magic about you, magic beside the sea.
Thank you so much. I love it. Thank you.
I'm not really a musician, but once in a while I can fake it.
Thank you. That's been awesome. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. I feel grateful. And I you say in Hawaii, mahalo.
Hi, it's me again. I hope you enjoyed our today's episode. If you want to know more about us, please follow www.thetempleofsurf.com and all our social media. Mahalo!